Bozeman is one of the fastest growing places in the country right now, and people are moving here from all over to get in on it. But I'll tell you what most relocation videos won't. Moving here in 2026 can be the best decision you ever make, or it can be the most expensive mistake. The difference comes down to whether you understand what you're actually walking into before you actually get here. I'm Chase Heiland, a real estate broker here in Bozeman, and I made that exact move myself back in 2016. I help busy professionals build a life here that grows their money and fits how they want to live. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll walk you through everything this growth has brought to the valley, what life here actually costs, and the one stat about this place that almost nobody from out of the state believes me until they actually live here. And near the end, the honest downsides nobody puts in the brochure, including the one thing that decides whether you'll love a Montana winter or count the days until you can leave. Stick around for those and let's get into it. Let's talk about what the valley looks like right now. So let me set the scene, because the Bozeman a lot of people picture is about 10 years or more out of date. This is the Gallatin Valley, anchored by Bozeman, with Belgrade just to the west and Big Sky about an hour south towards Yellowstone. It's grown fast, and that growth is the whole story of what it's like to move here now. But what really makes it work is the mix. You've got serious outdoor access, a real diversifying economy, and a community that's tighter than a place this size has any right to be. Most towns hand you one of those. This valley gives you all three at once, and that combination is what keeps pulling people in. For the next few minutes, almost everything I show you is something this growth brought, and most of it, it's good. I'll be honest about the parts that aren't a little later. Let's start with the lifestyle, because it's the number one reason people come, and it's also the reason I stayed. The outdoor access here is the absolute real draw, and it's hard to oversell, but it's hard to understate. World-class skiing at Bridger Bowl and Big Sky, fly fishing on the Madison and the Gallatin that people fly across the world for, Highlight Canyon 15 minutes from town, and Yellowstone National Park about 90 minutes south. This is not the kind of outdoor access you drive half a day for on a long weekend. It's the kind you fit into a Tuesday. Summer is fishing, hiking, and floating the rivers. Come winter, you're skiing powder 20 minutes from town. Fall turns the whole valley to gold, and the hunting and the quiet are just truly something else. That changes how daily life feels in a way that's hard to explain until you've lived here. And the outdoor world isn't just something you do, it's something the area builds. Sims makes its fishing waders here, Mystery Ranch builds its packs here, and Oboz, Sitka, and Schnees all call the area home. The mountains and the rivers right outside town are literally their testing ground, which tells you a lot about the life you'd be stepping into. Then there's everything the growth has put on the map. The food, the live music, the events, the quality of it all is on a scale you'd expect from a much bigger city, not a town this size. A lot of it flat out didn't exist a decade ago. And the reason it's this good is that Bozeman is so on the map now. You have people landing here from all over the country, and more and more and more from outside of it. And that mix raises the bar on everything. At MSU right in town, and there's an energy and a calendar of things you do that most small towns just don't have. If you find value in topics like this, take a moment to subscribe. I make videos on what it's actually like to live and buy in Bozeman and the surrounding areas, so you'll have the real picture as you plan your move. Now, let's talk about the economy, because a place is only worth landing if you can actually make a living there. And the good news is the Bozeman economy has gotten a lot deeper than it used to be. There's no single thing carrying it, which is exactly what you want. A few drivers pull about equal weight right now. Tourism and the second home market are huge, especially with Yellowstone and Big Sky bringing in steady money and steady visitors year round. Montana State University and the broader education and research world anchor the valley with thousands of stable jobs and a constant flow of talent. And tech and remote work have become a real force, bigger than the mountain town image lets on. Oracle, Snowflake, and FICO all have a major presence here. FICO, the company behind the credit score, runs its corporate headquarters right out of Bozeman, and Hyundai based an advanced R&D studio here too. Companies like Onyx, the outdoor mapping app, and Bridger Photonics, part of the laser and photonics industry, concentrated enough that Bozeman earned a federal tech hub designation. And plenty of high earners are simply working remotely here on a coastal salary, in a place they'd rather live. Bozeman Health is another major employer on top of all of that. So healthcare runs deep too. In the outdoor brands I mentioned earlier, Sims, Mystery Ranch, Oboz, they employ a lot of people here. Outside Magazine has called this area the Silicon Valley of outdoor gear. And that means real jobs and real payroll in the valley on top of everything else. The point is, the economy isn't leaning on one industry that could fall over. It's spread across several that keep growing. And that's a big part of why the demand under this valley keeps holding. I want to touch on the tax picture quickly because it matters, but I won't oversell it. Montana has no statewide sales tax, and the income tax is lower than the big coastal states. So if you're coming from California or New York, you keep more of what you earn. That's the very short version, but it's a real factor in the math. One more thing the growth brought is the airport. Bozeman Yellowstone International has expanded fast and added direct flights to a lot of major cities. So getting in and out is far, far easier than it was even a few years ago. Now, let's talk about the community because that's something that doesn't show up in any cost of living comparison. For a place growing this fast, the community here is remarkably tight. When I got here in 2016, I knew almost nobody. No friends, no network, and I found real community faster than I did in years in a big city. It happens on its own. You see the same people on the trail, your coffee spot starts to know your order, and if you volunteer for something, 6 months later, you have a circle. A lot of that comes down to the fact that most people here chose to be here. They made a deliberate decision to come to Montana, and that creates a different kind of energy than a place people just ended up in. The growth has shifted some of it, but at its core, this is still a place where people know each other. Now, let's get practical and talk about housing, because this is where relocation gets real. You have the full range here: single family homes, condos, townhomes, and new construction across the valley. They are all at very different price points depending on where you look. Bozeman city limits is the premium. The surrounding Bozeman area gives you a bit more room and sometimes a bit more value. Belgrade has become a major landing spot for people who want newer homes at an approachable price. And Big Sky, it's the high end, where you're buying into a resort lifestyle. New construction is one of the biggest stories of this growth, and it's happening on two fronts. Bozeman and Belgrade are both seeing a lot of new mid-market homes and subdivisions, which is where most relocating buyers and upsizing families are landing. In the county limits surrounding Bozeman, you'll see a mix of mid-market, but also luxury home subdivisions, usually more space and more land, but still within an easy commute to Bozeman, the university, and the airport. And up in Big Sky, there's a wave of extremely high-end new construction, condos, and homes well beyond just the Yellowstone Club. And that's become a major driver of this market on its own. As of mid-2026, the median single-family home inside Bozeman city limits is $790,000, and countywide, it's closer to $745,000. Condos and townhomes come in lower than that. On the rental side, in Bozeman and parts of Belgrade, a good rule of thumb is roughly $800 a bedroom and up. More downtown and more for a standalone home. A one-bedroom usually starts around $1,200 to $1,500. A two-bedroom condo or townhome runs about $1,900 to $2,200, and a three-bedroom single-family home starts around $2,700 a month and climbs up from there depending on the area. Let's talk about cost of living because that's the question everybody actually types into Google before they move here. I won't sugarcoat it. Bozeman's expensive. The home prices I just gave you are above the national average, and groceries and services have climbed right along with that growth. If you're coming from a more affordable market on local wages, the math is genuinely hard, and you need to know that going in. There's more to the picture than the sticker price. If you're coming from a high-cost coastal city, this often reads its value instead of sticker shock. Between no statewide sales tax, a lower income tax, and what you get back in lifestyle, a lot of people from San Francisco or Seattle or Los Angeles or New York, they find their money goes further here, even at the prices. The folks who struggle here are almost always the ones that the cost caught off guard. So run your actual numbers before you fall for a home, and you won't be one of them. Next is the pace of life, and that's one thing that's harder to put a number on because it's a big part of why people stay. The pace here is just different. This isn't a 24-hour, always-on city, and that's the point. Life here is built around the outdoors and the seasons, not around the grind. People get up early to ski or fish before work. Come Friday afternoon, half the town is headed for a trailhead or for the river. It's slower in the best way, and for a lot of busy professionals coming from a high pressure city, that shift is the whole reason they made the move. It takes some adjusting to if you're wired for constant motion, but most people find it's exactly what they were missing. And just a little bit about myself, I made this move too. So let me tell you why I stayed, because the odds are some of it sounds like you. I came from Southern California with no job lined up and no real plan, just a feeling that the life I wanted wasn't where I already was. What I didn't expect was how completely this place would deliver on that. The mornings, the people, the access to everything right out my door. The sense that I'd chosen my life on purpose instead of defaulting into it. Almost 10 years later, I still wake up, look at those mountains, and know it was the right call. I'm not saying that to sell you on it. I bring it up because I've stood exactly where you're standing, and I know how big this decision feels. Let's talk about the weather because it's probably your biggest question mark, and there's a lot people get wrong about it. We have 4 real seasons here: glorious summers, gorgeous falls, real winters, and springs that can't make up their mind. But here's the thing nobody from out of state believes until they live it. Bozeman averages around 300 days of sunshine a year. It's the sunniest city in Montana, and by that count, it actually beats San Diego, which sits around 266. I want to be honest though, our winter days are short, so the real magic is summer, when the sun is up past 9 and the day feels like it never ends. But the idea that you're moving somewhere gray and frozen half of the year, that's just wrong. And the dryness changes how the temperature actually feels. We're up around 4,800 feet with low humidity most of the year. We can swing from the 80s in summer to below zero in a cold snap. And on paper, that sounds brutal, but the air is dry enough that it never feels that way to me. The summer heat here doesn't sit on you, and the cold doesn't cut through you the way damp cold does. You can't really appreciate it until you felt it. I tell my clients this all the time because it's one of the most magical things about living here. It can be 0 degrees, drop a foot of snow overnight, and the next morning you wake up to crisp, clear, pristine blue skies. It's astoundingly beautiful in a way I never thought possible before I lived here. The beauty runs year round, and if you're comfortable with snow and some colder temperatures, the winter is genuinely amazing. But I won't sugarcoat the other side. If you don't find a hobby in the winter, you're probably going to go a little crazy. That's the honest truth, and it's the single biggest thing that decides whether someone thrives here or counts the days until they can leave. If you ski, ice fish, snowshoe, or just lean into the season, you will love it. If your plan is to sit inside and wait for spring, you'll be worn down by February. It's also a big reason we're such a strong second home market. A lot of people keep a place here and become snowbirds, taking off somewhere warm from around December, then coming back for April, May, and June, which are usually the exact months most people picture when they dream about moving here. That's a completely valid way to do Bozeman, and it's worth knowing it's an option. Big Sky runs on the opposite calendar, and that's worth understanding if that's where you're looking. Because it's a major ski destination, it's actually quieter in the summer and fall. It starts filling up after Thanksgiving as the holidays roll in, and it hits full swing in January, February, and March, right when a lot of Bozeman snowbirds are heading the other direction. So the two markets breathe an opposite rhythm, and which one fits you depends a lot on how you want to live. I promise you the honest downsides, the stuff that doesn't make the brochure. Here it is, because I'd rather you hear it from me now than learn it the hard way after you've moved. First, the cost. I already covered it, but it bears repeating. This is an expensive place to live, and if your income doesn't travel well, that's the thing most likely to make your move hard. Second are the growing pains. All this growth has a flip side. Traffic is real now in a town that never used to have it. Construction is constant, and some of the small town character has shifted as more money and more people have arrived. If you're picturing the sleepy Bozeman of 15, 20, 30 years ago, that place is mostly gone. Third, the remoteness. We're a small city a long way from a big one. Direct flights have gotten much better and made us more interconnected, but you'll still connect more than you would from a major hub. For specialized medical care, people sometimes travel, and the shopping and big box options are limited compared to a major metro area. So you order more online and drive more for the rest. Fourth, the winter I already walked through, plus the wind. Some stretches and some spots in the valley get genuinely windy, and it's worth experiencing a place in person before you commit to a specific area. None of this is meant to scare you. It's meant to make sure that when you move here, you do it with your eyes open, which is exactly how the people who love it got here. So here's where I'll leave you. If you're seriously thinking about making this move, the best thing you can do is visit first, ideally more than once. And if you can, come in winter, not just in July, so you meet the real version of this place before you commit. Then run your actual numbers because the people who thrive here are the ones who came in clear-eyed about the cost and the lifestyle. This is exactly what I do every day. I help busy professionals relocate to the Gallatin Valley, and I built my whole process, the Montana Move method, around making a move like this feel calm instead of overwhelming. It needs to grow your money and fit your life at the same time. If you want a head start, I put everything I know about relocating here into a free relocation guide, and the link is in the description. You'll also find a link there to book a call and bring me your specific situation. So let's talk. What's the one thing about moving to Bozeman you most want to know more about? Drop it in the comments and I'll answer. That also helps anyone else thinking about making the move too. People's questions are usually the same.